Okay, good evening everybody. Well, excuse me. Welcome to week 5 of our weight loss challenge. So this is the point where things start to get a bit more tricky, that people start to lose their persistence, lose their willpower. So this is the time where you really have to start sticking to your plan, staying with the product, staying with the new habits that you're creating. The next few weeks that'll be tough, but once you get through that, they become much more permanent parts of your everyday eating plans and nutrition plans. So welcome to week 5. So computer says no, turn page. Awesome. Okay, so this week we're talking about nutrition labels, we're talking about fats, and we're also going to look at portion control. And for many people, portion control is a really big part of the problem, and that's also influenced by outside factors, by how things are sold. Portion size in society is generally much too big. So let's start with a quick review of what we've looked at previously. So everybody now should know how much protein they need to be having every day and be looking to make sure that they're hitting that target every day. We talked about water and the importance of drinking lots. Up here in Queensland, it's getting really quite warm now. We have a temperature today around 35 degrees. So drinking water is really important, particularly obviously now when it's so hot. We're sweating more, and then your body gets dehydrated. Once you're dehydrated, then your weight loss becomes much more difficult. Snacking. We've talked about the importance of having those little mini snacks all the way through the day. Around the 100 calorie mark is awesome. The protein bars are great. Little packets of nuts, and I posted a few weeks ago on the Lose Weight Oz page, which is now renamed Shape Up Oz. I posted on there some pictures of how many nuts, so have a flick back and see if you can find those. We looked at meal planning and planning out what you're going to eat for the week, planning out what you're going to have for breakfast, what you're going to have for dinner, what you're going to have for lunch, what you're going to have for snack, just those sorts of things, what exercise you're going to include, just to help you stay focused. And if it's not on the plan, can't eat it. Last week we talked about how we could sort of rework meals, things about how you could replace one meat with another meat. So maybe you're using lamb mince for your lasagna, maybe then you could use chicken mince or turkey mince, which is a lot higher in protein, but also a lot then lower in fat. So that would be really good. And again, start swapping items one at a time. We'll touch base with that again this week as we talk about nutrition labels. So things to somehow we've jumped right to the end there. Let's just go back a few pages. Okay, nutrition labels. So nutrition labels are quite a mystery to many people. So I'm going to take you through and show you a few key things that you need to know. Okay, so number 1. Check how many servings per package. I pulled out a tin of coconut milk from the cupboard the other day, sort of one of the bigger tins. It's 5 servings per tin. So that's actually enough, to feed the whole family, not just to put in for 2 people. So check those. And I picked a packet of chips the other day just because I was waiting in the queue and it was there. 3.75 servings per package, so you can be really easily led astray on how many calories and things you've consumed because you haven't checked how many servings. So that's one key thing to check. Next, so check the serving size. So how big is the serving size? Particularly if this package up here, the servings per package is 2.5, then what is a portion? How much is a portion size? So that's really a good one to check on. The next one you need to have a look at is the average quantity per serving. Sorry, excuse my writing, it's hard with this magic pen. How much is in per serving? And then the 100 gram one is where you can then start to compare different products. So you're in the supermarket, you pull out 2 products, the same product but from different brands. The per 100 grams allows you to compare them because per serving may not be the same size. So per 100 grams is where you compare. So other things you need to look at. Let's check how much protein is in each item. Now we're looking to increase our protein. So 5.2 is pretty low per serving for out of your 170 grams there. So you'd be looking at things that were higher in protein. So if you can find something that's higher in protein, that's really, really good. Then when we come down to the fats, obviously we're looking at things that are lower in fat. But by being lower in fat, we just need to check that then they don't go flying high in sugars. This one's fairly balanced. There's nearly the same amount of sugar and fat there. It's not much difference. So yeah, next one you need to check after you've checked how much fat is how much sugar. Then when you're looking at dietary fiber, the go with dietary fiber is that you need to be looking at something which is 5 grams or more of dietary fiber. So this is really, really low in dietary fiber. It's less than half of the recommended amount per serve. So we'll be looking at something that's 5 grams plus of dietary fiber. And we'll look a little bit more next week when we talk about digestive health. We'll talk a little bit more about dietary fiber. When you're looking at sodium, that's the key one that people get really concerned about. Just looking at something that's really, really low. And usually it's done in milligrams because it is quite a small portion you need. 2 slices of average bread is probably your total sodium allowance for a day. So just looking to keep that really, really low. The other thing you might check is it might have the recommended daily allowance, which is sometimes RDI. So that might also be something that you can check. So you think, oh yeah, okay, that's nearly all my daily allowance of that. So I need to be careful what I eat for the rest of the day. So just check all those things. So serving sizes, how many servings are in the packet, and that's a really sneaky one that they give these big packages, but you know it's probably enough for 3 or 4 people. Obviously protein high, fiber high, fat and sugars and sodium, keeping them low. Okay, now let's just clear those. Oops, and we'll move on to the next page. So we've looked at the nutritional information. Now with the fats, some fats are good and some fats are bad. But just think 5 grams of fat is the same as a teaspoon. So if something has 8 grams of fat in it, that's 1.5 teaspoons of fat. So if you imagine that as butter, that's quite a big amount of fat that you're going to be putting into your body. So it's quite a good comparison to think that 5 grams of fat is the same as a teaspoon. Now, with lots of information about fats, good ones and bad ones. Omega-3 and omega-6 are actually essential fatty acids. We actually really need those in our bodies. We need way more omega-3 than we do omega-6. And most people, their diet is actually deficient in omega-3, and most of us need to be taking some form of supplementation like the Herbal Lifeline to make sure that we're getting enough omega-3 every day. Omega-3 is really, really important for anti-inflammatory benefits, and all the time our body is working to keep healthy, and anti-inflammatory helps to keep it working healthy and help it, do what it's supposed to do. So certainly thinking about that, they come from things like fish, particularly the wild caught fish, ocean caught fish, salmon, tuna. Those sorts of fish are really, really high in omega-3. And trans fats. Now, trans fats are created by the cooking process, particularly in things that are baked and fried, particularly biscuits that are manufactured rather than cooked at home, and cakes and things like that. So really, really try and avoid those as far as possible. We don't know the true effects that they have, but we know that they're not good. So if it's got trans fats, look for something that's really, 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 really low. Okay, so omega-3s and 6s are really important. Okay, so how do you reduce your fat intake? I'm sorry, I've made a misspelling mistake there. So think about your cooking oils. When I was a child, Mum used to cook everything in lard. But we've learned over the years that lard is probably the least healthy way to cook, and we've got things like olive oils, which are great, but also the spray oils for olive oil mean that you only use a very small amount. You don't end up putting a big glug in that you don't actually really, really need. So certainly looking at what cooking oils you're using. Looking to reduce your fat intake by eating low-fat versions. But as we've spoken about before, a low-fat version might actually be then really, really high in sugar. So it's just finding the balance so that it is actually a healthier version, not just compensating one with the other. Because one of the ways that the food manufacturers make things taste good is either to add fat or to add sugar. So finding that happy medium is a bit of a challenge. The next one's really, really obvious, avoiding fatty meats. If it's got a big chunk of fat on the side, don't eat that bit, and avoid meats that have those that are really, really fatty. Generally, your white meats and your fishes are much less fatty than red meats on the whole. But you know, a good cut of red meat is okay, but obviously the cheaper cuts tend to be fattier. When you're flavouring foods, if you can use herbs and spices, garlics, chilies and things like that, rather than gravy or sauce or butter, that will help you to reduce your fat intake. Gravies and sauces are generally really high in fat, so if you can use other things to flavour your foods and have a small portion of gravy or something on the side, that's much better than slopping gravy all over it, which is heaped in fat. And the last one here, it says, obviously if you're out for dinner or you're eating, fresh fruit is obviously going to be way less fat than if you have ice cream or pastry. So it's another thing that you can think about swapping, like we talked about last week. Okay, so another key issue for people, as I spoke about right at the beginning, is portion size. Portion size is the main reason that many people are carrying more weight than they need to, that they've had too much or something. So it's just a few tips here on how you can just control that portion size. Over the years, some of you will know this, that plates have got bigger and bigger and bigger. You might find that your new plates don't fit in your old dishwasher because the dishwasher isn't big enough, and we certainly had that. We moved to a new house, and our plates didn't actually fit in the dishwasher. They were too tall, and they were too big for the dishwasher. So plates have got bigger. So use a smaller plate. Probably a side plate is probably big enough for most people's meals. Something else there is to use a smaller spoon. So if you're having soup or something like that, you're using a spoon. Ice cream, if you have to have it, just use a smaller spoon. It will make you eat more slowly, but it also makes it then obviously last much, much longer, so you feel full sooner. If you're out, perhaps if you're out at somebody's barbecue or something like that, think about eating the healthy stuff first. So, for example, you're out and they've got sausages, they've got all those sort of dips, but maybe eat some carrot sticks, maybe eat some celery, things like that first, so that you actually feel full. And then you probably will eat less of the naughty stuff. So maybe there's some pudding type things, dessert things available there too. So eat the healthy stuff first, so then you have less room for the stuff that we shouldn't be eating as much of. And that interesting one here, stop eating when you begin to feel full. Most people eat way past the point of where they need to stop. The body actually takes about 20 minutes to cue in, I've had enough to eat. So by the time you actually feel that you're full, you're way past full. You know, it's going to be 20 more minutes before your body really knows how full. So once you start feeling a bit full, then that's enough. If you still think you're hungry, grab some water. And then if, you know, another half an hour that you really are still hungry, then that's okay. Then that's the time to think about, okay, do I need to eat something protein-based to help, you know, tide me over here? Okay, but if you're eating enough protein and you stop eating when you begin to feel full, that shouldn't be a problem. And watching the portion size when you eat out. Generally, when you eat out, portion sizes are just enormous. And they're not the portion size that you would probably eat at home. So it might be that you ask for like a doggy bag to put half of your meal in and eat the other half while you're there. For example, pasta dishes are often 2 or 3 times bigger than a serving size. If you actually got the pasta, measured it out a portion size, often pasta dishes are way bigger than that, and obviously they're very high in carbs. If you're having it in creams and things on as well, that, you know, you're going to blow out your calories really quick. So just really watch the portion size when you're eating out. Maybe get one meal and share it with a friend, or ask for the child's version or a smaller version when you're eating out. And we'll talk about eating out in a few weeks' time. So just a couple of visuals here to help you with your portion size. I really like this one. So your protein should be about the size of your palm of your hand, the size of your meat, perhaps the size of a pack of cards, you know, just one playing card. So it's actually not very much that you should be eating in terms of meat, but look how small your carbohydrate content is by comparison. It's only about half of your protein allowance here. And then look how many you should have in veggies, like a double handful of veggies. So if you can try and get that sort of balance a bit better, that will also help. So lots of veggies, then protein, and just a few carbs. It doesn't need to be heaps in carbs, heaps in rice, heaps in pastas and noodles and things like that. Okay, and this is a picture here actually from a young lady called Ellen Blackmore. Ellen's lost about 45 or more now kilos on the Herbalife product, and this is something she said, that her and her daughter now eat off the same size plates, and she's put her hand there to give a bit of a comparison about how much you actually really do need to be eating compared with how much we actually eat. So you can see it's quite a small plate there. It looks like a little, perhaps a Smiggles plate. Yeah, it's lots and lots of veggies there, small amount of carbs and some protein in the pie. So you can sort of see the balance, but also the size. And she's got a young daughter, so they eat sort of similar size meals, she said. But yeah, just really think about it and compared with the size of your hand, because for most people, that's a really key part, is getting the portion control right. And that's the Herbalife rule is, it's 3-2-1. So you have 3 tablets 3 times a day, 2 shakes a day, and 1 meal, and just cut back. And if you can cut back, over time that portion size will become normal, and you won't even think about it. You'll think that, oh wow, that's way too much to eat. Okay, so a few facts. This is really scary. That over the last 30 years, portion sizes have increased by between 25 and 50%. So the size of a Big Mac has increased by 25 to 50%. The size of your fries, the size of, if you out and buy Coke, all those things have increased considerably. And they're all things that if you think about increasing that, that's probably increased people's weight by 25 to 50% in some people's cases. So really, really manage your portion control, and that will make a big difference. This brownie recipe, 1975, the year I was born, made 30 brownies, but in the same recipe book today, only makes 16. So the actual size of those brownies, you know, like they're double the size that they were back in 1975. So exactly the same recipe, but now you need to think that it's, you know, it needs to be twice as big to be considered a portion size. And I know, you know, I've been to the bakers and things and bought items thinking, whoa, this is just huge. Does anybody really need to eat this much? Is after the first few mouthfuls, is the next one any better? Now you've had a taste. Is that 5th Tim Tam taste better than the first one? Or, you know, would 1 or 2 really suffice? So just watch that portion control. Just a quick review of product use. So with the Herbalife products, there's only really couple of reasons that people don't get results, because the products do work. We've got 65 million customers worldwide that have had results of the products. We know they work. They've been around 33 years. But if you don't take them properly, or if you cheat too much, then you're not going to get the results. So if you're drinking too much alcohol, you're not thinking about your portion size, then it's not going to work for you as well. And also if you don't take the products correctly, that won't work for you. So that's why it's really important to work with me, and I'll make sure that you are taking the products correctly to help you get those results. Because it's, you know, people get into little habits of forgetting to do their tablets at lunchtime, or they forget to have their aloe first thing in the morning, or they make their shake but they only actually make 1, or they make it on cow's milk because they think, oh, it'll be okay. Well, no. So yeah, just a quick revision there. 2 shakes a day, 1 meal, just cut back. Tablets 3 times a day, whatever tablets you're working with cellulose, the chitosan, the fluorofiber. So they need to be in your body 3 times a day. Ideally, do that before you eat. That way you're less likely to forget. The chitosan really needs to be in your system within 20 minutes of a meal. And if you sit down and have a bit of a chat after dinner, or a bit of a finish watching a TV program before you take your plate back to the kitchen, you'll quite find that you might be outside that 20 minutes peak performance for the chitosan. So take it just before you eat. I've already spoken a little bit about water, so the herbal tea, herbal beverage, water at least 2 litres a day. Now it's getting hotter. You need to start thinking about increasing that to make sure that you are hydrated and your body's able to flush out all those toxins that we don't want in your body. I know today I'm starting to feel thirsty, so I actually know if I'm feeling thirsty, I've actually gone past the point. I shouldn't ever get to that point. I should actually always feel hydrated. If you feel thirsty, you've actually got, you know, to the point where you are slightly dehydrated. And the bottom one, 30 minutes of exercise at least 3 times a week. So maybe you go and join one of our fit clubs, or maybe you have a look at the 24 Fit Club Facebook page, and each week there are posts, some different things to help you get motivated, some little clips and ideas of what you can do. It's lots and lots of things you can do at home. It doesn't have to be going out to the gym. The great thing about Fit Club is that, you know, it's fun, it's not too formal and serious, and we, you know, incorporate lots and lots of games to make sure that it's, you know, a great enjoyable activity, because certainly for me going to the gym was not enjoyable. And it was very lonely. Nobody spoke to anybody. They all did their own thing, lifted their own weights and looked in the mirror for the blokes. So yeah, just think about including some exercise. Again, start with 5 minutes a day and add it up. So, okay, so a little bit of homework for you this week. Just check your product use. Make sure that you are doing your 2 shakes, and just cutting back on your main meal. Make sure that you are taking your tablets 3 times a day, preferably before your meals. When you're out at the supermarket doing your shopping, just read and compare some labels to start to see how different items are packaged and some of the things that you regularly use. For the coconut milk I mentioned earlier, we used to just always throw in a whole tin. Well, since we've sort of read the labels a bit more carefully, we only now put in half a tin, because there's only 2 of us to feed, and usually there's enough left for a reheat for later as well. So really we didn't need a whole tin. We're not feeding 5 people here. So just, yeah, check those labels. And the last one, we've got to week 5 now. You really need to make sure you stay focused on this journey. Review your goals. Use me to help you to stay focused. If you need me to increase my contact with you to help you stay on track, I'm happy to do that. I'm here to help you get results. That's what I'm here for. So if you need my help, then, you know, ask, and I'm happy to, you know, adjust how I support you to make sure that you really get great results. Okay, and then next week we're actually going to look at digestive health. Now there's a really, really good video that was posted a couple of years ago, done by Dr. Luigi Grattan, who's one of the doctors at Herbalife, but it's really, really informative. So I'll try and put that up before next week, so people can have a look before the call, because it's really, really informative. In some ways it's a little bit scary about some of the stuff that's going on inside your body that shouldn't be happening. So I'll post that one up before next week, and I look forward to speaking to you through the week. And stay focused, watch your goal. We'll have you there in no time at all, but just think about those few things we've talked about this week. So good night everyone, and I'll speak to you through the week. Bye.